She took a metal knife and wanted to get the toast slices out of the toaster by picking it up with the knife. Redditors, what is the worst case of I don't know how to operate this everyday object you've seen? My wife is a middle school teacher, and her principal is technologically illiterate. He updates the same PowerPoint, not the same template, but the same literal PowerPoint file, for every single presentation he makes. It's now an illegible mix of fonts, font sizes, and formats. His bullet lists switch between unordered and ordered, and different types of sub-bullets, so there would be 3 bullet points, followed by a 4 and an E. The worst, though, was when he was giving a presentation about the #MeToo movement, talking about how it might potentially impact their students and staff. Thing was, the guy has no idea what a hashtag is, or how to talk about them in a public setting. His entire presentation, he was talking about the #MeToo movement. No actual message was communicated that day. I worked desk-side IT support at a Fortune 10 company. There was a director of some super important division. I think it was involved with the launch of new products. Like all directors there, he had an assistant. Unlike the rest of the director's assistants, she had the biggest printer we supported sitting right next to her, and connected directly to her PC. It wasn't even on the network, so no one could use it but her. Turns out, it's because every day, this woman comes in, prints every email the director got single-sided, and puts a huge ass pile on his desk when it's done. He then goes through everyone, of course, immediately trashing 99% of them, and handwrites replies on the back. She then stays late every day to type them up and send them. All because this dude found Outlook too challenging. One of my friends asked me if I would go to the gas station with her and fill up her tire with air because she didn't know how. I gave her the same answer I give most people when they ask me to do something simple that they will need to do again at some point. I'm happy to go with you. I won't do it for you, but I will show you how to do it. She thanked me and said she asked me because she knew I wouldn't make fun of her and was worried people would think she was stupid because she didn't know how to do it. I was checking into a hotel and asked if I could get access to the conference room to start setting up for the training I would be conducting all week. The lady at the desk was adamant we hadn't booked their conference room for a full week. It had only been booked for today. We went back and forth for a little bit until she got out of the schedule book to show me. The schedule book was just a spiral-bound book with calendar pages. She points at today the 31st and says, "See, there's nothing after this." I screamed internally and turned the page to show that reality didn't end at midnight and our company name was indeed written every day that week. She didn't give me any trouble after that. One time, my wife and I were at Taco Time. They have one of those touchscreen Coke machines. Unfortunately, we were in the back of a long line that wasn't moving, because the group in front couldn't figure out where the ice was or how to make the Coke come out. So my wife goes to the front and asks if they need help. She ended up taking several minutes describing the machine, where the ice was, where the Coke was, and how you could add different flavors to your drink. I was proud of her both for teaching those people, and also for using our drinks as her demonstration. My mom and Gmail. Quote, "No, I don't need a password to log in. Now get my emails back." I get older generations are not as tech savvy, not having grown up with computers and the internet, but come on, you've had that stupid computer for at least 10 bloody years. You must have picked up on the basics by now. As the youngest in the office, I'm now the official printer guy. Anyone has a problem with the printer, they come to me dumbfounded. Sometimes it's just the machine telling them there's a jam and they refuse to read the display telling them where the issue is. I worked at a gas station in Pennsylvania. Occasionally, we had customers with no idea how to put gas in their car. They'd shrug and say, "I'm from New Jersey." New Jersey doesn't allow self-service gas stations. Served in the army for a brief time with a girl who didn't know you had to rinse clothes after you soaked them while manually doing laundry. We had incidents where our laundry services would be woefully behind schedule, so occasionally, you had to do some sink laundry here and there. She would get hers wet, soap it up, and then just hang it and wonder why hers always came out worse than everyone else's. As an IT manager at a small office, I'll just say the majority of people when it comes to understanding and operating a Windows computer. The amount of people that get hung up and stop working over the most minor issues is astounding. Want to prove yourself more efficient and put yourself ahead of 90% of the current workforce? Learn basic proficiency in how to operate a Windows 10 PC. A housemate of mine once put something in the microwave that was covered in tinfoil, Not a foil lid, something she had covered in actual foil to reheat. I saw it happen out of the corner of my eye and dived in to open the microwave before anything went wrong. She got very angry and said, "What are you doing?" "I'm trying to cook my lunch, what's your problem?" I said something along the lines of, "Look mate, you can't put tinfoil in a microwave." She told me to fuck off and I sat down in the corner of the kitchen to eat my food while she tried to do it again. When the microwave sparked and made a fuss like it was going to catch fire, she started screaming and turned the microwave off at the wall, while I sat there with a smug grin on my face. I wanted to say, "See, told you so." But I felt the smug grin was probably enough. My girlfriend never used a toaster until 4 years ago. She inserted 2 slices of toast and started the toaster. When she thought the toast may be finished, she took a metal knife and wanted to get the toast slices out of the toaster by picking it up with the knife. I just noticed a second before she would have put that knife into the electric heating wire and shouted, "What are you doing?" from across the room. Maybe I saved her life. Now she knows toasters stop automatically after the preset time, or you stop it by pushing the respective button rather than killing yourself. My mom is just smart enough to be scared of technology, so she changes her password, and forgets it, almost daily. I'm set as her recovery email, so sometimes I go into the folder I have those notifications filtered into to see how she's doing. Not good. She was up to 12 times one day. I asked her about it and she said it was because Google didn't recognize her computer, so she thought she'd been hacked. Mom. You're adorable, and I love you, but no hacker is going to take much interest in your recipes or chain emails. If anything, you might get assimilated into a botnet, but that's about it. My sister-in-law had a flatmate who never cleaned up after himself in the toilet. There was always poop left. My sil and their other flatmate were annoyed but didn't want to embarrass him by telling him. When they were moving out and cleaning the apartment, the others told the poop guy to clean the bathroom, and pointed to the toilet brush and told him to make sure to use that too. When they came in a while later to see how it was going, he was using the toilet brush. But not in the toilet, he was using it to clean the walls. This guy was in his late 20s and had no idea what a toilet brush was used for. I almost stapled my hand or my face with a staple gun if my teacher hadn't intervened in time. I had never seen one in my life and was just handed one to put up some posters. I'm not sure how I held it, but it was wrong enough for the teacher to dive over like a baseball home run. Walking on a treadmill. I'm not talking about operating or using the controls, simply walking on it. I work in healthcare and perform stress tests in the hospital. You would not believe how many people, old and young, that don't understand how to walk on a treadmill. Many people try to just march in place before almost being flung off the back. Some people have absolutely no natural survival skills or instincts. My boss doesn't know how to forward emails. He also doesn't know how the printer/scanner works. He will call me over to his office, have me print an email, then he'll tell me to scan what I just printed and send it to the person he wants to send it to. I roomed with a guy who didn't understand the concept of a can. Every week, he opened every can in the house and dumped the contents into the garbage, which was its own form of hell to deal with, then went to the store and bought fresh cans. Worse, he expected me to buy half the groceries, an arrangement I agreed to before I realized that he threw away full cans of perfectly good food. I offered to take the old cans off his hands and eat the contents, because I was poor and hungry, but he refused because that would be unethical, to make me survive on his leftover garbage food. As crazy as he was, because I have a lot of stories like this, he was still better than my previous roommate, and I stayed living with him for far, far too long. New hire was asked to mop the back room when I worked at a coffee shop. It's a mop, I thought, no one needs to be taught how to use a mop. Well, this dude lifts the mop up, dips just the ends of the mop into the soap water, and proceeded to lightly brush the floor with wet mop tips like he was doing a giant-sized calligraphy project. I see examples every time I'm watching people putting carry-ons in the overhead bins on planes. Like whatever part of their brain is responsible for geometry, at even the level of understanding of a toddler, goes completely dark. You can see it in their faces, frustrated and completely baffled why they can't fit their luggage in there, and I just want to scream, "Turn it sideways, you fucking idiot." And just for fun regarding flights, there was the dude who jammed up the baggage drop trying to persuade the attendants to let his extra 150 kilograms of checked baggage slide for free. Dude had 200 kilograms worth of luggage. I'd never seen anything like it. And for my own stupidity, There was the time I was in the check-in assistance line for about 20 minutes with my head down before looking around at everyone else and thinking, wait now, something's wrong here. I asked someone what flight the line is for, Jamaica. I must have looked pretty dumb ditching the line after being there all that time. I had to teach my brother how to drive his car through the car wash. Mind you, I was 17 and had not yet started driving myself. We got to the gas station, and he looked at me and said, "Hey, you go out with Dad all the time. How do I get a car wash?" I stared at him bewildered, then told him to go inside and say he wanted to buy a car wash, which washes, and then to pay and bring out his receipt. He does this, then asks me what he should do next. I told him to drive to the car wash, so he did. He seriously sat there and asked me what to do next. I told him you roll your window down, type in the code on the receipt, and then you drive in. He did exactly that. He drove in, and we started getting hosed. I yelled at him, "And you put the window up? You put the window up." It never occurred to me that I would need to tell someone that you don't leave your windows down in a car wash. I think of myself as a smart guy. A couple of months ago I warned my girlfriend against using the car horn too much in case it runs out. Immediately after she asked me what the hell I meant, I realized I've never seen or heard of anyone going to get their horn refilled. Full disclosure, I still don't fully get car horns. A guy I know had his in-laws move in with him for a while. They were very traditional, very religious types where the man was the head of the household and the woman did the woman's work. Super conservative. My friend told me that his father-in-law came into the garage one day when he was cleaning up and asked what he could do. My friend told him that he was almost done and only had some heavy items to put away, so he told the Phil that he could sweep up and handed him the broom and dustpan. Phil said okay. How do I do that? I work in a bakery, making specialty cakes. Every now and then someone will order a specific design they found on the internet. Sometimes there are print screen attachments they send by email. Every now and then someone will give me an actual photograph they took of their computer screen. Like, they took the picture, had it developed and brought it in person to the bakery. Grad students are kind of the epitome of specialized knowledge. I used to hang out with a couple of guys who knew more about nonprofit organization laws than I knew there was to know, but I frequently had to teach them things like how to make microwave oatmeal, how to make a graph in Excel, and what a thesaurus was. Kind of relevant, it's more a misinterpretation of how an everyday object is operated. Me and my grandma were sitting on a bench, some guy with AirPods zooms past. Grandma, laughs. Me, what? Grandma, in Russian, did you see that man? He put his cigarette behind his ear for safekeeping. How silly. We laughed for hours after I explained, to a very disbelieving grandmother, the concept of Bluetooth headphones. I was standing behind a late teenage early college type at the post office drop-off counter at my local grocery store. They sell stamps and hold on to letters and packages for pickup by the post office once a day. This young Karen in training was sending a thank you card to her grandmother who didn't have email. She was absolutely livid that she had to pay money to put a sticker on the envelope before they would accept it for delivery. It was me. Operating a self-checkout at Walmart. I scanned a thing, and held it in my right, then proceeded to try to scan the next thing using my left hand. The machine said please place item in bagging area like 15 times. I just stared at it like it was speaking Swahili. The checkout the person had to help me. I was completely sober. I just vapor locked. I have no idea WTF happened. My old roommate claimed she was the smartest person around. I thought she was smart enough, I guess. But then she bought her first wallet. I turn around to her trying to force the wallet shut with the cards in the wrong way. She insisted the wallet was manufactured incorrectly because the wallet wouldn't close with the card sitting upright. I silently took the wallet, turned one card 90 degrees, handed it back to her, and went back to what I was doing. My 21-year-old college roommate asked me how to turn the basic AF oven on to 350 degrees to bake cookies. That same roommate the other day thought the Lysol sink cleaner spray bottle, or whatever brand it was broken because he didn't know that you had to twist the tip from lock to spray. The year prior my 18-year-old roommate didn't know how to do laundry. Simply throw the Tide Pod in, select the temperature, and press start. The only roommate I ever had was a guy who didn't seem to know how to do most basic tasks. He had to Google things like how to empty a vacuum and how to cook rice. I told him to add 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice and that would be more than enough for 1 person. After giving me a snark attitude, I come home to find he had added the whole package to a full pot of water and the pot basically exploded, rice all over the place. White girl I know who grew up in China. She got hired in our offices as a personal assistant. The CEO met with the CFO to discuss some big matters and on the way into the meeting asked her to make a pot of coffee. She never had coffee before, let alone made it. The coffee maker was an absolute mystery to her. She made tea though, and took a swipe at it by boiling water and mixing in grounds, then took that into them. I worked at the front desk of my dorm while in college. The first week of school a freshman came over with an envelope and asked how to address it. Everything explaining that an address is written on 3 lines, one above the other, to which corner the stamp goes on. It was actually fabulous because he was sending a thank you note to his aunt, it's just that his mom had always done it for him in the past. I work in heavy industry. We had a new guy and we were setting up a pump that wouldn't work. I asked him to go grab me a spark plug socket. He paused and asked me, and what does that look like? I reply with, it looks like a regular socket but a bit longer with a rubber insert in the inside to grab the plug. He turns around, walks away. Stops. Comes back and asks, what does a socket look like? Dude, who hired you? Where were you before today? How did you get in here? Turns out before my company hired him he was a jewelry salesman. And he slightly embellished his resume. Story from a friend. New guy on a service rig. There was a whole bank of grease nipples for something. My friend tells him to grease the whole bank. My friend comes back and the guy has smeared grease across the whole bank of nipples. My friend responds with, wait here. I have to go tell everyone how dumb you are, then I'll come back and show you how to do this properly. One of my favorite responses ever. Ketchup pump. Worked at a restaurant for a summer and college, expediting for the kitchen, getting sides, fixing plating. We had a new guy come a few weeks after me. Obviously, chock full of nerves. I asked him to fill up 20 ramekins with ketchup for a big order coming up. Literally, all you have to do is hold the ramekin under the faucet and push down on the pump. It's exactly like you would see at every single fast food joint that lets you get your own sauces. Despite showing him several times exactly how to fill these cups with ketchup, it still took him 15 minutes and about 30 more questions to get the simple task done. It's not like he was a dumb guy, but I swear the only thing he ended up being good for in the 3 months I worked there was clearing tables and doing dishes. Everything else just left him entirely unsure of himself, to the point where he couldn't do anything. I know this sounds insane, but I swear to God this was not a joke or anything. My coworker was giving an academic colleague some exams to mark. She gave her a rubber band to keep them together. The woman looked at the rubber band and said she didn't know how to work this. My coworker had to show a 40-something-year-old doctor of law how to use a rubber band. The office has never gotten over this story. In 2011, I had to explain to my mother's friend who was asking, that thing you have your hand on, the computer mouse, moves this pointer thing on the screen? This lady was also a teacher. Being my mom's friend, my mom tried unsuccessfully to defend her friend's ignorance in the matter. But, sorry, no one should be that ignorant. When I was in 5th or 6th grade I had some friends over for a sleepover. My friend got up before me and woke me up to ask if he could use the shower, which I groggily said sure and fell back asleep. Well, our shower is a little odd. To switch from the bath faucet to the shower head, you have to pull down and twist the ring that the water comes out of for the bath faucet. Not quite sure how to describe it, but it's pretty unintuitive. So, a couple of minutes later, my friend comes back while wearing a towel, wakes me up, and asks me something like, how does it work? I looked at him and was still extremely groggy, so I incredulously responded, it's a towel. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.